A nebula is an interstellar cloud of dust, hydrogen, helium and other ionized gases. The four types of nebulae are emission, reflection, dark, and planetary. The Horsehead Nebula is a small dark nebula in the constellation Orion. The nebula is located just to the south of Alnitarch, the easternmost star of Orion's belt, and is part of the much larger Orion molecular cloud complex. The Crab Nebula is a supernova remnant and pulsar wind nebula in the constellation of Taurus. The common name comes from William Parsons, 3rd Earl of Rosse, who observed the object in 1840 using a 36-inch telescope and produced a drawing that looked somewhat like a crab. The Eagle Nebula is a young open cluster of stars in the constellation Serpens, discovered by Jean-Philippe de Ciccio in 1745–46. The Helix Nebula is a planetary nebula located in the constellation Aquarius. Discovered by Carl Ludwig Harding, probably before 1824, this object is one of the closest to the Earth of all the bright planetary nebulae. The distance, measured by the Gaia mission, is 655 ± 13 light-years. The Ring Nebula is a planetary nebula in the mildly northern constellation of Lyra. Such nebulae are formed by a starburst ionized gas has expelled into the surrounding interstellar medium by a star. The Lagoon Nebula is a giant interstellar cloud in the constellation Sagittarius. It is classified as an emission nebula and as an H2 region and is one of only two star-forming nebulae faintly visible to the eye from mid-northern latitudes. The Trifid Nebula is an H2 region in the northwest of Sagittarius in a star-forming region in a nearby spiral arms Scutum-centered part. It was discovered by Charles Messier on 5 June, 1764. Its name means three-lobe. The Dumbbell Nebula is a planetary nebula in the constellation Vulpecula, at a distance of about 1,360 light-years. It was the first such nebula to be discovered, by Charles Messier in 1764. The Rosette Nebula is an H2 region located near one end of a giant molecular cloud in the Monoceros region of the Milky Way galaxy. The open cluster NGC 2244 is closely associated with the nebulosity, the stars of the cluster having been formed from the nebula's matter. The Cat's Eye Nebula is a planetary nebula in the northern constellation of Draco, discovered by William Herschel on 15 February, 1786. Eventually, the clump of dust and gas gets so big that it collapses from its own gravity. The collapse causes the material at the center of the cloud to heat up, and this hot core is the beginning of a star.